Greetings. Welcome back to the channel Humanity, Facts and Mysteries. We are used to thinking that the modern world is the natural outcome of history, that centralized power, fortified borders, standing armies, and permanent conflict are inevitable features of human society. We assume that civilizations rise by conquering, dominate through force, and fall only when something stronger replaces them. But history does not fully support this belief. Long before classical empires defined the rules of power, there existed a civilization that followed a different logic. It built cities without defensive walls. It dominated trade without territorial expansion. It accumulated wealth without creating a militarized state. And for centuries, this model worked. They were the Minoans. Their world did not collapse because it failed. It disappeared because the world around it changed. According to archaeological evidence, Minoan civilization developed on the island of Crete during the 3rd and 2nd millennia before the Common Era. Major centers such as Knossos, Phaistos, Malea, and Zakharos functioned as administrative, economic, and cultural hubs. Minoan society was urbanized, highly organized, and deeply connected to maritime trade networks across the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean. This much is undisputed. What remains debated is how such a society functioned so successfully without adopting the dominant strategies of its time. The first striking feature of Minoan civilization is the absence of fortifications. Excavations across Crete show that major Minoan centers lacked defensive walls during their height. This is not a coincidence or a gap in evidence. It is a consistent pattern. At a time when cities across the Near East and mainland Greece were increasingly fortified, Minoan centers remained open. This suggests a deliberate choice. The Minoans lived on an island with natural maritime defenses. Control of the sea mattered more than control of land. Their ships, harbors, and navigation skills allowed them to regulate access rather than repel invasion. Power was exercised through movement and exchange, not static defense. This logic extended into their architecture. Minoan palaces were not fortresses or royal residences in the traditional sense. They lacked throne rooms designed for public domination. Instead, they functioned as complex administrative centers, combining storage facilities, workshops, ceremonial spaces, and living quarters. The architecture emphasizes flow rather than hierarchy. Corridors twist, rooms open into one another. Space feels communal rather than authoritarian. There is no clear visual focus on a single ruler. Art reinforces this impression. Minoan frescoes depict rituals, festivals, nature, and athletic competitions. Human figures appear lively and fluid, often interacting rather than dominating. Scenes of warfare, conquest, or royal triumph are almost entirely absent. This is not because the Minoans were incapable of violence, but because violence was not central to how they represented themselves. Religion followed a similar pattern. Archaeological finds indicate a belief system focused on fertility, nature, and cyclical renewal. Female figures appear prominently, often interpreted as priestesses or goddesses. Sacred spaces are integrated into settlements rather than separated into monumental temples. Ritual seems embedded in daily life. Again, this reflects a model centered on balance rather than control. Economically, the Minoans were highly sophisticated. They produced olive oil, wine, pottery, textiles, and metal goods, exporting them across the Aegean. In return, they imported raw materials such as tin and copper necessary for bronze production. Archaeological evidence of Minoan pottery found on mainland Greece, in Anatolia, and in the Levant confirms the extent of these networks. Trade required organization. Linear A, the undeciphered Minoan script, appears primarily on administrative tablets and seals. Its usage suggests record-keeping, inventory control, and redistribution of goods. The Minoan economy was structured, not informal. Yet it operated without the visible coercion common in later states. This raises a fundamental question. How do the Minoans maintain order without overt military dominance? The answer likely lies in integration rather than enforcement. Power was distributed through economic dependency, ritual participation, and shared identity. The palatial system coordinated production and redistribution, ensuring stability while reinforcing social cohesion. Instead of forcing compliance, the system incentivized participation. For centuries, this worked. Minoan influence spread across the Aegean without colonization. Their cultural markers appear in mainland Greek contexts, shaping what later became Mycenaean civilization. Yet the Minoans themselves did not transform into conquerors. And then, the balance broke. In the mid-2nd millennium before the Common Era, a series of disruptions occurred. The volcanic eruption of Thera caused widespread damage across the Aegean. Tsunamis affected coastal settlements. Trade networks were destabilized. These events did not immediately destroy Minoan civilization, but they weakened its foundations. At the same time, mainland societies followed a different path. The Mycenaeans built fortified citadels. They embraced warrior elites. They prioritized territorial control. As Minoan power waned, Mycenaean influence expanded into Crete itself. Archaeology shows that Minoan centers were eventually taken over, adapted, and restructured according to mainland models. Linear B replaced, Linear A changed. Fortifications appeared. The Minoan model did not lose because it was unworkable. It lost because it was incompatible with a world becoming more militarized. This is what makes the Minoans a true lost model of humanity. They represent a version of complex society that did not place domination at its core, a civilization that relied on connectivity instead of conquest, ritual instead of intimidation, and economic integration instead of territorial expansion. For centuries, this was enough. Their disappearance does not mean their model was naive. It means history selected a different one. The modern world often assumes that power must be centralized, defended, and enforced. The Minoans remind us that this was not always the case, that there were moments when complexity existed without constant violence, that prosperity did not automatically produce militarism. Their legacy did not vanish entirely. It flowed into later Greek culture, myth, and memory, but the logic that sustained their world was replaced by another. And this is why their story still matters. Not because they were peaceful idealists, but because they prove that human societies once functioned on assumptions radically different from our own. The Minoans were not a failed civilization. They were a different answer, and the world chose another one. If there is another society whose way of living challenges what we think is inevitable, leave it below. We will continue exploring the paths humanity could have taken, but did not. Stay with humanity, facts and mysteries. Because once you begin to notice these lost models, history stops looking like a straight line and starts looking like a field of possibilities we barely remember.